We are only a few days out from the release of Granblue Fantasy Relink, and of course I had a little opportunity to actually check it out and see how the single player and a little bit of the multiplayer are gonna actually operate in it. And I have to say, to start off, it might be something that you might want to keep your eyes on, especially if you're a fan of PSO or a Monster Hunter, especially for the multiplayer. And of course today, we're going to be going over everything that we got to play and hopefully help you decide if it's something you might be interested in. But before we hop into all of that, I do want to give a giant thank you to everybody that is supporting over on Patreon, subscribing over on twitch.tv/TroyMaconn, and of course everyone hitting that wonderful join button below here on YouTube. Thank you my dudes. And with that, let's jump into this and let's discuss some Granblue Fantasy Relink. So to start off here, we did play this over on a PS5. And if you do want to check out the demo, I believe it's still available at the time of this video. And of course, this demo is made up of a few game modes with a tutorial, which pretty much self-explanatory, right along with a single player mode, as well as a multiplayer / single player mode, which is really interesting. We will get more into momentarily. But for the single player mode itself, this is a pretty straightforward slice from the game here. Don't affect any heavy spoilers or anything here, since we do get a little bit of a story of you and your team rescuing people from goblins. And it kind of do get one or two character personality across, but nothing super deep here. So no worry about heavy spoiler by any means on that part, beyond, of course, seeing who's going to join your party, since you do seem to have majority of the actual party in the demo. But when it comes to actually playing it outside of the cutscene, you only have access to 4 characters, which in return is a little sad because it does seem a little limited for the demo. But then again, we will talk about party composition, especially in multiplayer. Well, you will start seeing how some of this stuff might translate into the single player as well. But when it comes to the story in that little preview, it pretty much made up of you and your team rescuing people from goblins. And in return, that part of the demo is very much more so about showing the combat itself. And out of the gate, you might think the combat is pretty simple with a light and heavy attack, but there is a little more depth here, especially when you start bringing in your party members, as well as some of your Link ability. So how this all operates, like I said, we light and heavy, and then you also have 4 abilities that will be on a cooldown timer, and the combat itself is real time. So you will be, of course, dodging, blocking, and of course working with your teammate by building up a combo link, which will, of course, let you do combos with people in your party, as well as a overdrive meter that once built up, you can go ahead and activate a overdrive ability that will be extremely over the top. And of course, as this is filling for you, it is also filling up for your party as well. And of course, by activating all your ability at the same time, you can go ahead and get any more powerful super attack as well here. So as you can see, most of the combat itself is going to be boiling down mainly building up meters and trying to manage the combat itself. And the combat itself is very quick, over the top, and a very much a flashy game. The only downside I can see here is some of the combat does get a little confusing as far as being able to keep up with your character, just because there's so much happening all around you. But with that being said, once you start moving into like the boss battle, this is where I feel like the combat very much starts shining. Is more on the one-to-one or much more of a bot that may, in the case of the demo, summon enemies that will also help him. And you will start getting into a lot of the mechanic that you might know from Final Fantasy XIV, with some of the MMO mechanic of course AoEs on the ground, avoiding it, trying to actually manage the enemies and where they are, as well as your position. And honestly, this is where Granblue Fantasy Relink very much starts shiny, is in the over-the-top bot battle that is extremely fun from the ones we got to play in the demo itself. Overall, the single-player part of this is pretty much on par with, I feel like, most RPG of the type, especially the action RPG. And if you are someone who plays the games that Tales of, you might see a lot of familiarness heal, which is a good thing. And for the actual big bosses that is extremely fun to fight, that kind of brings us to, of course, the multiplayer. In the demo, we only have access to 3 missions here, and of course, a hub town. So we're in the hub town. Any of you can't do much in the demo. We do see blacksmith shop that seem like we are going to be able to interact with them, upgrade equipment, and whatnot to make your character more and more powerful. As well as in the demo, we have a handful of characters to play through. So as a single player might seem pretty straightforward with it light and heavy attack. Not so much for multiplayer, because in multiplayer you start playing characters that are mages, that are more range characters, more melee. You start playing characters that actually have mechanic tied to them directly, that is still wrapped around it, heavy, light, and of course the cooldowns abilities as well, plus the linking system. And honestly, this is, well, I feel like the biggest draw for me personally is for Relink. Well, just playing the character, testing them out, and then on top of that, being able to play up to 4-player co-op for the missions, as well as, of course, once the missions are done, being able to collect loot, and of course, getting ranking system. Is this feel like it could become a very, very big part of Relink, and a part that probably is the most interesting if you are someone who enjoy Monster Hunter or like PSO2. This is something that might catch your eye, because the quests are made up of course, at least in the demo, from boss battle to like a horde mode, and I imagine we will probably see a lot more different types as you progress through that part of the game, which bring up some questions of how this is going to operate with single player, and is it going to actually cross over into that? But nonetheless, the single player itself seems to be pretty on par, once again, with many other RPG. And then the multiplayer seems to be something that could be really big and really grand. And honestly, really fun if you are someone who enjoy the style of taking quests with your friends and going out and hunting monsters or doing some light dungeon exploration. I am so in on that part of the game. And that is pretty much what we was able to play in the demo itself. So it went from a game that was pretty expected to be fairly decent to a good, to being a game I am overly fascinated with, to see how this actually going to flush out into the single player as well. And then knowing the background of, course, it being not only a fighting game, but also mobile games out there as well in this series. It seemed like they will have a lot to draw from, especially for the multiplayer itself. So overall, Granblue Fantasy Relink is a game that, honestly, if you're someone who, once again, love Monster Hunter games or love Tales of, you very much need to be keeping an eye out this coming week. And of course, you can pick this up over on a PS5 as well as a PC. And of course, I will have links in the description for you to hit up if you want to go ahead and get your hands on that copy and pre-order it. And of course, there will be affiliate links, so that will also help out the channel. Link below. And of course, like always, I will be back once again with another preview, gameplay, guides, or whatever it might be here. So make sure to thumbs up, subscribe, hit all the bells so you don't miss out on any more Granblue Fantasy Relink video coming in the near future. And like always, I will go ahead and see you in the comments.